The story of a soulful betrayal. Chapter 1. The beginning. In a small, cozy town nestled among green hills and tall forests, lived Irina and Victor. Their union seemed ideal. They had been together for more than 10 years, and their home was always filled with love and harmony. They had a wonderful boy named Semyon, who brought joy to their lives. Irina worked 2 jobs to provide for their family, and Victor, who worked for a local company, provided support and comfort, thereby creating their ideal life. From the outside, it might seem that they had no worries. All their needs were covered: an apartment, a car, a good job. But behind this external well-being there was an internal rift. Victor became too carried away by his work and stopped paying attention to Irina's feelings. He spent most of his time at work or at the computer, leaving her alone with household chores and endless tasks. Chapter 2. Irreversible life. After many years of routine, Irina began to realize that she missed simple human communication and an attentive look. She felt that she had become just a part of a mechanism performing duties, while Victor was evolving. He was often tired and irritated, and their conversations were limited to budgeting and responsibilities. One day, when Irina returned home from work, her eyes fell on an anonymous message on his phone. Her heart sank, but she decided that it was just work matters. However, internal torment continued to torment her. She wanted to feel alive and desired again. Chapter 3. Point of no return. Everything changed the moment Irina met Vadim at a local photo contest where she participated. Vadim, a young and charismatic photographer, inspired her with his art of seeing the world. His sincere conversations, passion for life and understanding became the spark she had been looking for in her marriage for so long. Communication with Vadim became an outlet for Irina. She felt young and relaxed next to him, while next to Victor she felt like an old woman, forgotten and unwanted. Their friendship began to deepen, and she began to spend more and more time with Vadim, feeling how abandoned dreams and hopes were blossoming in her. Chapter 4. First steps. Gradually, Irina and Vadim began to meet not only at photo shoots, but also simply walked around the city, discussing art and life. They spent hours in the outskirts, discovering more and more in common in each other. Irina could not help but notice how easy and joyful it was for them to be together. One day, as they sat in a cafe and talked about their dreams, Vadim hugged Irina, his gaze penetrating her soul, and she felt herself ready to open up to him, like in spring, when nature awakens from a long sleep. This was the moment when their feelings began to grow into something more. Chapter 5. Time to choose. Irina felt torn between 2 worlds. On the one hand, there was Victor, reliable, albeit tired, with his habits and worries. On the other, Vadim, representing a new, bright world that was easy to fall into. Her internal conflict only intensified. Having managed to talk to Vadim, she again felt the warmth and support that she could not find at home. She knew that this relationship was becoming dangerous, but she could not resist. The affair with Vadim was not just a matter of the heart for her, but also an opportunity to blossom anew. Chapter 6. Revelation. At some point, after several months of communicating together, Irina made the decision to let slip about her relationship with Vadim, without waiting for it to deepen further. She told Vadim how quickly she had become involved in the relationship, but also expressed her fears that it could distance her from her family and children. He listened to her silently, realizing the full weight of her choice. "I just want you to be happy," Vadim said, placing his hand on hers. In essence, it was not just a confession, but a desire that was intertwined with bitterness at the thought of what she could lose if she chose him. Chapter 7. Conflict. Meanwhile, Victor began to notice changes in his wife's behavior. She became more distant, her thoughts raced in other directions. It started with laughter and jokes, and now it has grown into wariness and silence in the house. One day, when Victor saw that Irina went to meet Vadim, a feeling of resentment and anger crept in. He fought the urge to close his eyes to everything, delving into his feelings, and asked her about what was going on. But Irina, full of guilt and embarrassment, just waved it off. "Just friends, don't worry." Chapter 8. Frank confession. Unable to tolerate this, Victor one day became insistent. "If there is something more between you, I need to know it. I feel like you are distancing yourself from me." This revelation made Irina lie low. She knew that if she told the truth, she would destroy everything they had. But was it the right decision? It was like a weight falling on her shoulders, squeezing her heart in an icy vice. In front of Victor, she couldn't keep quiet. "I'm dating Vadim," she whispered, and her knees buckled. These words echoed in Victor like a loud crack, tearing apart their shared dreams. Chapter 9. Consequences. After this frank conversation, there was silence. Victor was shocked and depressed. He could not believe that the sticky fog of betrayal had enveloped their lives. Although he still did not know what the consequences would be, everything was changed forever. At first, Irina tried to calm him down, but she knew that words would not help. A whirlpool raged inside her. She was torn between the agony of what she had lost and the realization of the possibility that she could leave her husband for something else. Chapter 10. Developments. A few days passed, and during this time Irina sought support from Vadim. It became a difficult test for both of them, as the friends were thinking about saving or destroying their connections. But despite all the love, she understood that she was hurting Victor. But love for Vadim had already captured her heart. She knew that it was hard for him too. One day they met on a deserted beach, where she once dreamed of the future. Together they were looking for their goal. There was a full moon on the horizon of the water, and their feelings were stronger than ever. It was destiny. Chapter 11. Breakup. Irina returned home and tried to talk to Victor again. She gave herself up to the thought that perhaps she could at least remain his friend, but she also knew that it was impossible to completely deceive him. A conversation of complete revelation took place. Victor was furious, and first demanded that Irina choose. He suggested forming a new contract on how they could move forward, but the idea was not authoritative. Irina felt like a frozen screen, unwilling to make a choice. Irina decided to leave Victor and end her marriage. It was the hardest decision of her life, but she knew she could not hide it. She spent the following evening with her husband, trying to create something that might ease the loss, despite everything that had happened. Chapter 12. Reconciliation. At some point, after months of momentary pressure, Victor and Irina were able to get out, and their conversation covered everything that had happened. They were both upset, hating themselves and each other, but looking for healing. Despite all the circumstances, they realized that they would keep what was important, their family and the love they had. A few weeks later, Irina decided to stay with Victor, but on a completely different level. They were both met stronger. Irina regained her emotions and possibilities. Suddenly she realized herself as stronger. They started working on common interactive projects, trying to save and continue, taking everything wisely. Chapter 13. New possibilities. Maria started working as an old professor, trying to write about her emotions and another world. Both continued to develop their professions, and this helped them understand each other better. They both became not only a good couple but also best friends. She managed to feel alive again, as it was at the beginning of their relationship. They left all the troubles in the past and now focused on creating their new world. Chapter 14. Renewed life. After some time, Irina made a decision. She will not escape from her emotions, she will use them in the art that inspired her. She launched a large exhibition of her works, imagining that each frame means something important. Victor, for his part, supported her, became her reliable critic. As the exhibition was successful, he began to feel how he was regaining in her that very originality, that passion with which they began their journey. Thus, Irina and Victor learned to value relationships, realizing that every mistake is an opportunity for growth and change. Chapter 14. A new life. After some time, Irina made a decision. She would not escape from her emotions, she would use them in the art that inspired her. She launched a large exhibition of her works, imagining that each frame meant something important. Victor, for his part, supported her, became her trusted critic. As the exhibition became successful, he began to feel how he was rediscovering in her the very originality, the passion with which they began their journey. Thus, Irina and Victor learned to value their relationship, understanding that every mistake is an opportunity for growth and change. Chapter 15. The future. Despite all the difficulties they had gone through, their story was not over. Irina and Victor were able to not only restore their relationship to a new level, but also discovered that even difficult relationships can be made stronger if there is openness and a desire to work on the future. Now, as they looked into the distance, they thought about what awaited them ahead. The passion that Irina gave this part of herself to and their path to mutual understanding through the years reminds every couple, to give and teach, to develop and change, sincerely. Every evening, contemplating the sunset over the lulling sea, they understood that true love is not only a good time, but also an attempt that is worth it. So, their story, full of Angry emotions, pain, and discoveries led them to the eternal harmony that they both wanted. The politics of love and life were seen before them as a gradient glow. They became a symbol of the fact that true love will always find a way to restore what was lost. Life goes on, and their path is just beginning.